The movie starts with Yelena, who is now employed as a cleanup agent, standing on a rooftop and silently contemplating the darkness within herself. She swiftly starts her task by secretly eliminating the guards inside the OX laboratory after leaping down onto the top. Yelena is unaware that two scientists inside the lab have already been transformed into shadow-like beings. When another scientist tries to explain what happened, she rejects him and destroys the lab, erasing all the evidence. She reports back to Valentina after that. Now a member of Congress, Bucky is working to have Valentina removed from her role as director of the CIA and head of the OX group. Valentina is accused of misusing her position of authority during a congressional hearing by creating enhanced people through a program known as the Sentry project utilizing the super soldier serum.
She is questioned by Congressman Gary, but Valentina changes the subject by bringing up the last president who transformed into the Red Hulk and almost caused a catastrophe. She contends that the OX group is required to handle emerging dangers since the Avengers are no longer in existence. Later, as the crisis worsens, Valentina orders Mel, her assistant, to destroy all the evidence. She also inquires as to whether the cleanup crews have been given any new assignments. Mel informs her that they have, with the exception of Yelena, who declined. Yelena's father, Alexei, is currently residing in the U.S. He relives his former glory by watching archival footage of his time as a Soviet super soldier. Yelena pays him a visit and inquires about his activities since their last encounter, but it's obvious that he hasn't been doing anything. She then queries why any of their missions were significant and what it meant to be a super soldier.
Nothing comes close to saving lives, Alexei informs her. He claims that Natasha, her sister, recognized that and decided to change things. Yelena calls Valentina as she is leaving to request an assignment that will garner media attention. Valentina consents, but only if Yelena does one last cleanup task.
Valentina consents, but only if Yelena does one last cleanup task. The four of them are attempting to accomplish their task while being trapped in a chaotic free-for-all for a time. However, Ava accomplishes her goal when she stops Antonia just before she is ready to murder John. Out of nowhere, a man named Bob shows up and tries to get away. However, all of the exits close before he can get out, trapping everyone within. Bob gives a brief introduction to the group. Valentina throws a fancy dinner that evening while maintaining appearances in spite of mounting strain. Congressman Gary shows in and softly confronts her, telling her that the truth would eventually out and that she won't be able to hide it forever. Val dismisses him while remaining calm. Shortly after, Bucky shows up to the celebration and yanks Mel, Valentina's helper, to the side. He makes an effort to convince her to speak out against Valentina by claiming that she still has the opportunity to act morally.
Mel, who is obviously uncomfortable, declines and makes an attempt to leave. Bucky gives her a card before she departs and instructs her to give him a call if she decides to alter her mind at any point. Yelena and Ava return to the warehouse and begin to piece things together. They come to the realization that they were set up and are now viewed as loose ends, proof of Valentina's misconduct. It becomes evident that Valentina is keeping everyone within in an attempt to eradicate them all. John remains doubtful and does not accept their theory. He asks Bob how he entered the facility in the first place. However, Bob's memory is blank and he is unable to remember anything. Ava abruptly tries to use her phasing abilities to get away, but she is stopped and forced back by a high-pitched ultrasonic pulse. The warehouse is more tightly sealed than they anticipated. Back at the party, Bucky yanks Gary away once more and proposes that they cooperate to get Mel to speak. Gary, however, shakes his head and explains they must wait as a different scheme is already underway. Aware of the increasing danger within the warehouse, Valentina returns to the control room and makes her choice. With deadly purpose, she starts a lockdown by authorizing the kill sequence. When the party returns to the warehouse, they discover that they have less than 2 minutes left before the kill sequence starts and the entire building catches fire. They swiftly devise a strategy: eliminate the power source preventing Ava from facing through the door with her powers. Everyone starts looking. When Yelena finds the power source, John quickly comes to her aid and uses force to crush it. Ava phases through the wall when the signal is down, and she barely in time unlocks the door from the outside. The others barely avoid the explosion as they run out. Yelena touches Bob's hand for a moment outside as they collect their breath. A terrible vision strikes her instantly, bringing back memories of her past. Contact with Bob somehow brings out these suppressed recollections. There is obviously more to him than they are aware of. Mel informs Valentina that the group managed to get out in the interim. She also plays video of them collaborating currently. When Valentina sees Bob in the video, she becomes worried right away. Mel is asked by her who he is. Mel replies she's not sure, but she'll find out. In an attempt to stop the group from vanishing, she gets in touch with General Holt. They are unaware that Alexei, posing as a driver, is close by and listening in on the entire discussion. The group reassembles at the demolished warehouse. John approaches Bob once more and inquires as to how he got there. Bob tells how he unexpectedly woke up in the warehouse while he was at a medical facility. They quickly come to the conclusion that Bob is the same individual who made the physicians into shadows. Later, Bob and Yelena have a private conversation. Yelena learns from their talk that Bob has a troubled background, much like she does. They start to comprehend one another. John bursts through a wall as they continue their exploration, exposing a secret space. They discover something startling. They are in a huge tunnel, deep beneath. Up is the only way out. John makes an attempt to leap and ascend, but he is unsuccessful. Bob proposes that they collaborate. They start climbing, one by one, exhausted and bruised, but desperate to get out. Mel discovers that Bob is actually Robert Reynolds, one of the initial Sentry project test participants. She tells Valentina, who is shocked to learn that Bob is the program's sole known survivor. The group eventually makes it to the top of the subterranean shaft back at the warehouse. John takes one of Yelena's guns and assists in pulling everyone up as they climb out. But as soon as he takes hold of Bob's hand, a quick, intense rush of unsettling memories, Bob's darkest experiences, conveyed through touch. They are encircled by military personnel once they are outdoors. They quickly devise a plan as they have no time to waste. Ava will utilize her phasing ability to collect a nearby vehicle. To divert the troops' attention and divide their focus, the others set up an explosion in the chamber. Valentina talks to General Holt outside the building. She tells him that she needs at least one of them arrested alive and that the protocol is not fatal. However, a squad of soldiers are drawn toward the facility when an explosion occurs inside it before they can take action. During the pandemonium, John and Yelena ambush the troops inside, knocking them unconscious while hiding in their uniforms. Just as Ava brings the car back, they head for the exit. The group swarms in, prepared to flee. However, another checkpoint stops them at the gate. Bob gets a weapon and steps out into the open to attract attention in an attempt to buy them time. Unaware of Valentina's shift of direction, Holt orders the firing. Bob is fired upon by the military. It's too late when Valentina yells for them to halt. Suddenly, Bob wakes a secret power, which is unexpected. Unknowingly, he lifts off the ground and begins to fly. Shortly after, he loses control, goes black in midair, and crashes with tremendous force to the earth. Soldiers are knocked down by the hit, which also flips the automobile that Yelena, John, and Ava are attempting to flee in. Yelena, John, Ava slowly stand up and start walking a little while after the collision. Yelena talks about the Sentry project and how test subjects were exploited and coerced as they go. According to John, this is the rationale behind Valentina's investigation. People were harmed because the project was never approved. The comatose Bob is retrieved by Valentina and her group, who then take him to an old, deserted Avengers facility. In her opinion, it's safe and hidden. Yelena and the others keep going as the morning breaks until Alexei arrives in his vehicle. He gives them a ride and says he arrived as soon he heard the coordinates. Alexei begins to joke and make bold recommendations during the journey, stating that they ought to form a team like the Thunderbolts. Even when everyone rolls their eyes, the atmosphere somewhat improves. A convoy suddenly emerges behind them and starts to approach. The car is already at its maximum, but John cautions that they should accelerate. Suddenly, the convoy starts shooting. To keep the car safe, John leans out with his shield. An ultrasonic weapon from the convoy freezes Ava in her tracks as she attempts to use her skills. Yelena shoots back, trying to hold them at bay. Bucky shows up and ambushes the caravan just as things appear to be going wrong. He eliminates a number of cars and drives the remaining assailants off the road. In addition to eliminating the threat, their vehicle is also taken off the road.
Meanwhile, Mel and Valentina arrive back at the former Avengers facility. Mel worries about retaining someone with Bob's level of instability in such a strong position. Val dismisses it, refusing to pay attention. Val goes inside Bob's room and makes an effort to speak with him. Bob inquires about Yelena and the others in a composed manner. Saying they're in good hands is a lie from Val. However, something within of Bob erupts when she brings up his father.
Bob becomes enraged, and the building trembles. Val reaches out and grabs his hand in an attempt to soothe him, but she is drawn into a flashback of her own traumatic experiences. She is overwhelmed by the pictures. Shaken and uneasy, she stumbles back. Bob says he can manage his powers and prevents her from leaving. Val leaves the meeting, calm but shaken, and instructs Mel to set up a press conference for the next morning. This powerful climax has been rewritten in a clearer, more organized manner while maintaining the character motives, tone, and event sequence. Bucky, in the meantime, calls the gang together and informs them that they are now important witnesses in Valentina's case. Yelena and the others, however, protest, claiming that Val attempted to murder them in addition to manipulating them. They also divulge the truth about Project Sentry and what they have discovered about Bob. Initially, Bucky is dubious. The narrative seems very dramatic, but after that, Mel calls him. She subtly affirms everything. Bob participated in Project Sentry, it was real, and he is extremely unstable. Before things get even worse, she exhorts Bucky to bring backup. Bucky agrees to assist after realizing the threat. He invites the group to accompany him. After some hesitation, Yelena concludes that she must stop Val and remove Bob from her control. Mel attempts to negotiate with Val back at the shuttered Avengers base. Bob is too erratic to be a weapon, she cautions her. Mel is talking when she spots Bob's kill switch, a nearby gadget. Val walks inside Bob's room, ignoring Mel's worries. Now that he is cognizant, Bob is gradually learning to regulate his abilities. Bucky and the others come outside. In a fierce battle, they storm into the building and defeat Val's guards. Val calls them upstairs to break up the fight. She confronts them upon their arrival, making fun of their individual histories.
She makes fun of Alexei by saying that nobody can recall the Red Guardian. Bob intervenes and uses telekinetic energy to halt Bucky before he can hit her. Val proudly presents Bob as her go-to weapon, the Sentry. She starts bragging about how she will change the world with him. Bob punches Red Guardian back with tremendous force as he leaps forward in rage. With extraordinary strength, telekinesis, an invisible energy shield, and resilience to all attacks, including electrical ones, Bob shows to be almost unbeatable when the others assault. Bob easily rips off Bucky's vibranium arm when he tries to strike with it. The group is compelled to back off. Bob hesitates when Val tells him to kill them. He wants to avoid hurting them. Frustrated, Val goes for the kill switch, but it slips out of her grasp during the struggle. Mel reaches for the kill switch and flips it on as Bob screams at her in rage. Bob passes out. Val and Mel depart, assuming he is dead. Bob, however, awakens within the building and is now overcome by the evil force inside of him. He becomes a shadowy, tainted version of himself. Yelena collapses outdoors. She shares with Alexei her sister, her losses, and the shame she bears. Something inside of her changes as she sobs, mending a piece of herself. She and Alexei regroup and are ready to defend themselves. Bob, who is now known as the Dark Sentry, starts transforming people into shadowy incarnations of themselves in the meantime. He demolishes surrounding structures and a helicopter. To protect bystanders from falling debris, the crew rushes in. However, the darkness continues to grow. Yelena is drawn into the dark zone as soon as she enters it. Visions of her past, pain, remorse, and trauma attack her from within. She perseveres through everything and locates Bob, who is adrift in space. They converse. Bob admits that it's the darkness using his body, not really him. Dark forces assault them when Yelena persuades him to fight back. Bucky and the others show up at that moment and defend themselves to give them a chance. Yelena proposes that they visit Bob's birthplace, the laboratory. When they get there, Bob is not attacked by the darkness, but the others are. He attempts to annihilate the shadow form, but is unable to bring himself to do it. Bob ultimately uses all of his strength to fight back after witnessing his pals being taken prisoner and suffering. The darkness starts to overwhelm him as he punches it, but he keeps going. Together, Yelena and the others leap in, drag him back, and put an end to the corruption. New York is safe once more. The city returns to normal and the shadows go.
When they reassemble later, John commends Bob for his courage. Bob, however, doesn't remember anything that happened. They spot Val and approach her without noticing the press that is waiting close by.
Conversely, Val presents them as the new Avengers right away, and the movie ends here. To ensure you never miss any updates on new videos, kindly click the bell icon and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.